New Cardi Kaizoku video. Need to watch.
Hi, Anata.
Cardi Kaizoku.
This video is sponsored by Card Market, Europe's largest online marketplace for trading card games. This video is sponsored by Sleeve Chief. There's a major restock coming for a lot of their popular sleeves, and they're going to be releasing a new Enel, Dawn sleeve, and Hollow sleeve as well. Use code CARDKaizoku for 5% off your order. In this video, we'll be taking a closer look into the OP09 Shanks leader. I was curious to see what the curve of Shanks would be in 09, because a lot of people were quite underwhelmed with the leader ability. So let's go over the leader card real quick before we continue any further. So Shanks is a 5000 power, 5 starting life red monocolor leader. His leader ability reads, once per turn, you may activate this effect when your opponent attacks. Give up to one of your opponent's leaders or characters minus 1000 power for this turn. And there was some ambiguity on how this leader ability worked, but I do think it only works on your opponent's turn. Some people thought that you could activate this on your own turn based on how it's worded, but I think if you were able to activate it on your own turn, there would be an activate main keyword, which there isn't. The only timing in regards to activation seems to be only when your opponent attacks. And then I did mention in my 09 first impressions video why they didn't have the on opponent's attack keyword in that case, because that's an existing keyword. And yeah, people brought up that that kind of effect actually forces you to activate it the first time an opponent attacks. But the existing cards that utilize the on opponent's attack at the moment also have like a minus Dawn cost tied to it. And that part is optional, so that's why you can bypass and pick which attack you want to minus Dawn on. But because this Shanks does not have that minus Dawn component, it has to activate on the first opponent's attack if it had the on opponent's attack keyword. So that's why that is left off, and it just activates on any attack that you can decide on your own, right? It doesn't have to be the first one, it could be the last attack. So with that out of the way, is this a good leader ability in the end? If it can't be used on your own turn? Yeah, I still think it's actually pretty good. But yeah, we'll just go through typical curve cards that you can play of the existing red cards currently, and then whatever they've revealed as of July 18th, right? There could be more red hair pirates cards that haven't been revealed yet. I'm just going off of what is out so far. So that could be even stronger than I think now, depending on what they reveal in the upcoming days and weeks. So I do think there's two ways to run the Shanks deck. You could run it with the Whitebeard package or red hair pirates package, pure red hair pirates. I'm going to assume there's going to be like a searcher at some point revealed for this deck. But as of now, there isn't one revealed, so I just made like a placeholder. Or it could be like a combination of both. I think there's a lot of good Whitebeard Pirates cards that can be used in this deck. Generic good red cards, they just happen to be in the Whitebeard Pirates type. So yeah, let's take a look at the Whitebeard Pirates curve first. So I have a sample hand of 5 down here. This is like the god hand. You're probably not going to get like the perfect curve hand all the time, but just for like illustrative purposes, that's what we're going to assume that we have to work with. So with this deck, I think it's better to go first. And we'll just play out the turns, and then we can see if it's strong or not. I could change my mind after going through the curve, because I haven't made up my mind yet. This is just an exercise to illustrate it to myself too. So I'm finding this out real time with you guys. So we'll start off with the 1 Dawn, right? On our first turn, we could play Izo out, and then this could search for a Whitebeard Pirates type card. So let's say we find like a 9-beard from our deck. So that goes to hand. Then we pass to your opponent. Your opponent's 2 Dawn turn. They could play something like a searcher. So let's say we're playing against a Lucci. They play a Spandam. They draw a card and discard 2. At that point, they can't attack you yet, so it passes back to you. So you draw 1 card, and then you ramp to 3. So on your 3 Dawn turn, I think one of the most interesting things you can do is you could just swing with your leader for 6 here. And then the Lucci, or most leaders will probably take, so they'll take that life. And you want to leave 2 Dawn up actually, and then pass it. So on your opponent's turn, they're at 4 now. What they can do is one of 2 things, or 3 things actually. So if your opponent wants to develop like a 4-drop, just so they have a stronger attacker the next turn, they could just play a 4-drop out, and then in which case they don't have any extra Dawn to attack your leader with. So they'll swing 5, you use your leader ability to give a minus 1k, so you save 1 card in hand. So your hand size remains at 6 at this point, and then the turn passes to you, right? Or what they could do is play like a 3-drop. Lucci doesn't normally play it, but just for illustrative purposes, like this is a generic kind of play that someone can do. So if they had like a 3 Dawn play, they can play that, and then they have 1 Dawn for leader. Hold on, let me give 1 to Lucci here. So Lucci swings for 6. At this point, you could use your 2 Dawn to play Gum Gum Red Hawk, and you can counter for 4. That saves you 1 hit. You don't have to use any counter at all. And then with your leader ability, you can give minus 1k to something. So let's say if the opponent was not smart and they attacked after playing a character, if they played that 3 drop out, so 3 drop, usually a 5k max attack, your leader ability will give them minus 1k. So it's a 4k right now. Red Hawk will counter 4k, protect you from the leader 6k, and it can also KO the 3 drop that they played. But if they were smart, they will attack with 6k first. So let's say they didn't play this yet. They attack 6k, you can still Red Hawk and kill the Spandam, or the Searcher, the 1-cost Searcher that they played. And then end of the turn, they'll play that 3 cost at that point. So you still don't take any damage in this case. You just lose 1 event, but that's fine because you killed one of their things. And then the third scenario would be if they just swung like 9k at you with their 4 Dawn. This is also an easy situation to get out of. So your leader ability, give their leader minus 1k. So it's a 8k attack right now. And then again, Red Hawk with 2 Dawn, kill their Searcher again. And that saves you a life as well. So I think on your 3 Dawn turn, Red Hawk is like a really strong play to have open. So let's say they did the swing 6 and play a 3 drop option instead, right? That's like their best bet to play around this. So you Red Hawk, kill their Searcher, they play a Yamakaji at the end of the turn or something. Turn passes back to you, right? So you're at 5 now. So 5 Dawn turn, one of the strongest cards in the Whitebeard Pirates package is this new Ace from the starter deck, Whitebeard starter deck. You can play him for 5. Because what he does is, if your leader is a Whitebeard Pirates type, you get Rush, but since we're a Red Hair Pirates type, we don't get the Rush portion, but the secondary effect is what makes him so useful in this kind of meta at the moment. Because once per turn, if he were to be removed from the field, he gets minus 2k power instead and stays on board. So this works against Lucci's KOs, Red Purple Law's bottom decks. They usually can't KO twice, and they usually can't bottom deck twice at this stage in the game, so he's definitely going to stay on board. Ace will survive for sure until your next turn to be able to swing. So yeah, 5 Dawn Ace, you can attack with your leader for 5, passes to your opponent's on their 6 Dawn turn. So 6 Dawn, it gets like a lot more flexible from this point on, right? It depends on what your opponent wants to do. What they could do is play like a 5 drop, so let's say they play a Sabo here, and then they have 1 Dawn remaining to attack you with to get around your leader ability. So they do Dawn Leader, attack 6. So if they attack you for 6, oh, at this point we would have drawn a card for the turn too. I just want to illustrate how many cards in hand we'll have. So 6k at us, we could respond to it in a plethora of ways. We could just take it, right? Go down to 4 life, then we'll be at 6 cards in hand. Or we could counter 2, like let's say this was a 2k counter. You just counter 2. And then if the Yamakaji attacks, you could just give it minus 1k with your leader ability, prevent that. So that saves you a card as well. And we're still at full life here, by the way. And then since they played Sabo, that's 5 Dawn, that's their turn. So it passes back to you after that, right? Since all their attacks failed. So on our 7 Dawn turn, we'll draw for turn here. And then we could play this 7-cost Whitebeard that came in the new Whitebeard starter deck. This gives your leader 1 rest at Dawn. And then you could rest the Whitebeard to KO a 5k power character. So you could just rest the Whitebeard here to kill their Yamakaji. Or their generic 3-cost. I shouldn't keep saying Yamakaji by name. And then yeah, what you can do is you can attack with your leader, and then you can attack with Ace for 6. They could counter 2 or take it, and that's that turn at least. Then it's your opponent's 8 Dawn turn. 8 Dawn, they could play like a Gecko Moria, most likely, at this point. So on your opponent's 8 Dawn turn, they could do something like Gecko Moria, of course, that's what Lucci does. But yeah, this isn't specific to Lucci. So yeah, 8 drops usually big impact, but we're just using Lucci as an example here. So Gecko Moria brings back probably like a Lucci and a Helmeppo, right? So Helmeppo gives minus 3 cost to Ace. Lucci KOs Izo and Ace, so these 2 die. But Ace actually survives. He gets the minus 2k because of his ability to withstand 1 removal effect. So he's 4k, and then your leader can attack for 5 into Ace at this point, right? Because if they attack your leader, you just use your leader ability, give him minus 1k, and it doesn't do anything. So might as well attack Ace. But you still can't use your leader ability here. So it's 4k into 4k, and then you just counter with the 1k or something to save him. So Ace more than likely will survive. If they do want to attack with the Sabo, that would kill the Ace, but then that would leave Sabo rested. But let's say for this example they do. So that kills Ace, their Sabo is rested here. And then yeah, you're still at 5 life. Then that's their turn, basically. These 3 can't attack, their leader already attacked, their Sabo attacked. So you'll go to 9 here. And then of course we'll play 9-Beard. That's all the Dawn for the turn. We get buffed plus 2k because of 9-Beard's ability. And then yeah, we could swing 7k. Probably not into the Sabo. So we'll do 7k at leader, they'll take, we'll do 8k at the Sabo dies. So that's our 9 Dawn turn, simple. Passes back to them, 10 Dawn turn, they could do like another Gecko Moria or something. So let me duplicate them. So at this point, they could do like another Helmuppo Lucci combo. So let's say they played the Helmuppo again from the discard somehow, and then they played a second Lucci, and then with their leader, and then like a Indies lobby or something that probably kills our 7-cost Whitebeard. And then yeah, they have 2 Dawn left over at this point. So Gecko can attack for 9, we'll take that one. Finally, that's our first life taken. And then with the 2 remaining Dawn, they can't split it with their leader or one of the Lucci, so they'll do 8k with Lucci. So 8k Lucci. At our 7k leader, we just use our leader ability, give it minus 1k, then we could counter 1 or something. Oh, I didn't draw for turn on my 9 Dawn turn, sorry. So we'd have 3 cards in hand at this point and 4 life. And then it passes back to us, 10 Dawn turn. We could play a Shanks, give everything on board minus 1k. So let's just pretend that it's all here. And then yeah, we just focus on clearing board at this point. So Whitebeard attacks into Lucci, he dies. Then Shanks attacks into Gecko, he dies. Right, because he's 8k right now, 8k from 12. That is going to be really hard for them to defend. So they're left with this board that has minus 1k each. And then let's say they get lucky and they play a third Gecko Moria. They do that sometimes. So with this board, there's no way they can really KO with the Lucci unless they played like 2 Tempest Kicks or something. So let's say they played like a blocker instead, like a Borsalino. They have 2 Dawn left over. Oh, we don't have the plus 2k buff anymore. So their leader is a 5k swing, most likely. 5 at you. We could counter that one. And then Lucci can swing... Well, Lucci's a 5k right now because of the debuff. They have 2 remaining Dawn. They could swing 7 at you. You could take that one. And then Gecko 9 at you. You can take that one. So turn passes back to you. You draw for turn. You have 4 cards in hand. At this point, you could play like the 10-cost Shanks from OP06 to KO the Gecko. The one that's not rested. Because it KOs at 10k or less, so that kills that. And then you could swing 9-Beard 10 into 8 here. And then they could block to save them. And then you'll swing Shanks into Gecko, so that kills it. And yeah, our board is just really hard for them to remove. And we still have 2 life. And they have to keep rebuilding their board. And then the Shanks keeps them down too. But I think another strong option would be like a second 10-cost Shanks from 09. So if you had 2 of these, let's bring that same board back out. So this would be minus 2k on everybody. So you do 5 at Lucci, Lucci dies. You'll do 10 at Gecko. Gecko is a 7k at this point. But I should keep this on board. So 7k, they'll block to save him. Shanks attacks him, he dies. And then you attack their life with the Shanks. They take. And it's going to be really hard for them to remove your 9-cost and 10-cost characters on board. You have 2 life, you're pretty healthy. You still have 4 cards in hand at this point. So I think in like a endgame kind of board state, this is really strong. Right, they keep having to rebuild their board, and even after they rebuild their board, their characters can't attack you right away because they need extra Dawn on top of that to break past this minus 2k that you've set up, and that just increases depending on how many more Shanks you play. Right, if you manage to get 4, it's like impossible for them to hit you, and they have rush too, so they handle something on board. So like you're not really in danger really of dying unless they played like a bunch of big bodies without attacking, so you can't interact with them. But that's the case where you could play like the 06 Shanks to KO something instead. But to be honest, I think the 09 Shanks is better in general. So that's the Whitebeard curve. Let's take a look at the Red Hair Pirates curve, which I think might be a little better. So let's reset the board here. I'll cut this part out. All right, so we reset the board. Let's do the Red Hair Pirates curve and see how that is different. So 1 Dawn, if the Red Hair Searcher is a 1-cost searcher like Izo, we'll assume it is. We'll play that. Maybe we find like a 10-cost Shanks that goes to our hand. And then just like before, they could play Spandam, and then pass, and then our 3 Dawn turn. I think that Red Hawk play is still a good thing to go for, unless they release like a really broken 3-cost Red Hair Pirates card. So we'll do the same thing as before. We'll attack for 6. So their turn, they'll go to 4 Dawn, they attack for 6. We'll use Red Hawk to counter that, KO Spandam like before. Then they play a 3-drop at the end of the turn. Then it's our 5 Dawn turn. Oh, we drew for our 3 Dawn turn too. I gotta stop forgetting to draw. Don't forget to draw. So we'll go to 5 here. But this should be on top actually. Make it look nice, make it look nice. Okay, 5 Dawn turn. So with the Red Hair Pirates, we have Yasop as an option. What he does is on play, it buffs your leader plus 1k for the entirety of your opponent's turn. So it's like a mini 9-cost Whitebeard effect. So we're a 6k base for this turn and your opponent's turn. And then on a future turn, when you attach Dawn to him and attack, you can give minus 1k to something. But the usefulness comes from the on play, I feel. So we're 6k base, that's all of our Dawn for the turn. We could swing for 6 at them. They could take, so it passes back to them. So they're at 6 Dawn now, they could do Sabo again. And then at this point, even if they had Dawn for leader, they can't attack you because you could give them minus 1k, so it's 5 into 6. So maybe instead of Sabo, let's say it's a different deck that had like a 6 Dawn play. They could play like a vanilla or something 6 cost. So even in this situation, their leader can't attack you because it's now 4 into 6. So yeah, you're healthy, no damage taken. Wait, did I draw for my 5 Dawn turn? I didn't, after I said that I should remember to draw. So this is our hand, right? So yeah, they just develop, they can't attack with their 3-drop on board either if they went for this play. So no attacks at all here, but let's say they did the Sabo play. I think that's more standard. So Sabo, so that's all they can do. Turn passes back to you, you go to your 7 Dawn turn. I'm gonna draw this time. So for 7 Dawn, you could play Ben Beckman, who can trash Sabo, right? Even though he's immune to KO, Ben Beckman on play trashes a 6,000 power or less, so that just straight up kills Sabo. And then since they couldn't damage you with their 3-drop, they probably didn't attack with it, so it's probably still active. So you just swing Yasop 6k at leader, and then this buff is gone. So 5 at leader as well. They'll expand counter or take, and then it goes to their 8 Dawn turn. Of course, they'll play Gecko Moria, maybe Helmeppo and then a Lucci. So Lucci and Helmeppo would probably kill Yasop and your Searcher. So these two are dead. And then they don't have the Dawn to attack your leader because you have your leader ability, so I guess they have the 3-drop. So yeah, leader attacks, you give it minus 1k, negate. 3-drop attacks, you could counter one or take, but let's counter. Then turn passes back to you. You draw, you go to 9. Then 9 Dawn. There's no 9-drop Red Hair Pirates card, so I think it's still good to play the 9-cost Whitebeard. Buff your leader, +2. And then you could swing 7 into their 3-cost, that'll kill it. You can swing 7 into their leader, they'll take. And then it's their 10 Dawn turn, they could do another Gecko Moria. Let's just say they drew nuts. And then they had enough cost reduction to also kill Ben Beckman. Like in the first scenario, they played another Helmeppo or something, and then another Lucci that kills Ben Beckman. Probably not Newgate because they don't have enough cost reduction for that. And they have 2 Dawn left over. So if they did 2 Dawn on leader to attack for 7, you just leader ability, that nullifies it, and then this Lucci can't hit you because you're a 7k base. So they probably don't want to do that. They're probably going to go like 8 on Lucci. In which case, yeah, leader ability -1 and then counter 1k. Then Gecko Moria can attack you, you take that one. And then from this point on, it's similar to the first scenario with the Whitebeard Pirates package. Right, you just drop Shanks, give everything -1k again, and then clear board. So these two will die most likely. And we draw for the turn 2, so we have 4 cards in hand at this point. And yeah, it's their turn, they do whatever they do. We just play more Shanks or more Whitebeards. And yeah, it just ends up the same way as the first scenario, which is really strong. So honestly, I think this deck is actually pretty strong, carried by the fact that 10 cost Shanks is really, really good. And then a lot of the cards that get you to 10 Dawn keep you really healthy. Right, at this point in the game, we have 4 life and 4 cards in hand still. When we drop our first Shanks, that is. Not when we drop all 4. And yeah, we're free to take life from their Gecko Moria hits as we develop more Shanks to like clear their board. And then the more like low-end cards that they play, the more useless they become because they can never hit you. Right, because they're -2k permanently with these 2 Shanks up. And they're hard to remove too. They're 10 cost, 12k power. Whether it's by cost or by like power reduction, it's really hard to attack over them or KO them or bottom deck them. And yeah, just everything in this deck just revolves around like keeping your opponent from being able to hit you easily. Right, we have starting from our 3 Dawn turn, Red Hawk to defend 1 attack and clear a body that can attack you in the future. 5 Dawn turn, we plus our leader 1k with Yasop, making it even harder to hit us, right? Leader ability -1k and then Yasop plus 1k makes it so that your opponent has to attack 2k over you. And then 7 Dawn turn, you play Ben Beckman, you kill something on board before it can attack you. Something that's a 6k too. That frees up your leader ability to be used on like their leader instead. Then 9 Dawn turn, you play Newgate, buffs you for 2k, makes you a lot harder to hit. Plus the 1 extra k needed when you use your leader ability. And then 10 cost Shanks after that makes everything on board even harder to hit you. This makes it really awkward for your opponent to play on curve. Because whenever they play on curve, they don't have any extra Dawn left over. They basically can't attack you with their leader because you can always give them -1k with your leader ability. So for every attack that your opponent can't throw at you that they normally would be able to, you can consider that like a card draw, right? Because you don't have to dump a card in hand to counter it. So it's like you drew a card that is 1k counter. If you think about it that way, your leader ability is almost like draw one card every turn, one extra card. So I think that's a very strong effect, especially since it doesn't really cost anything. It just depends on if your opponent attacks or not, right? It's a strong effect for Vivi, but it costs 2 Dawn for Vivi. It's a strong effect for Rebecca, but it costs 1 Dawn for Rebecca. It's a strong effect for Boa, but Boa requires you to like bounce something on board or bottom deck it. Strong effect for Reiju, but Reiju has to minus Dawn. Shanks doesn't have any like detrimental cost tied to his card draw. But yeah, it's not technically card draw, so it's not as flexible. You're just getting like free invisible 1k counter. But yeah, that does fit like Red's identity because it's very like stats heavy, right? You're just doing math. Plus 1k really matters in like a math heavy deck like this. You're not like KOing things unless you're playing Ben Beckman. But everything else revolves around like attacking over or under. So to be honest, I think Shanks is shaping up to be like a menacing mid-range red leader. You can barely attack into him for like 3 to 4 turns, and then at that point they're playing their top end, which also makes it even harder for you to attack into him. So yeah, this just could be what Red needed to be meta again. I think Shanks will actually be meta. This is my meta call. Same with how I did with Kalgara, where once I looked at his curve, I actually noticed he's a really strong leader. But yeah, we don't see Kalgara anymore, I'll admit that. But that's probably because Red Purple Law is like crazy turbo busted. So maybe in a meta without Red Purple Law, we could see Kalgara come back, we could see the Shanks shine actually. And to be honest, this Shanks seems like he'd do really well into Red Purple Law, right? The more 10 cost Shanks you have out, the harder it is for his bodies to attack into you. And then on top of that, they can answer his board. Whenever he does commit Dawn on characters to attack you, you play Shanks, you kill one thing, and it's even harder for their future characters to attack into you. Enel might not be a problem either, because you're playing big characters that they can't easily defend against, so they have to take that life. They'll run out of cards to trigger with eventually. Especially because this Shanks has Rush. Having a Rush option against Enel that can attack for 12 is really strong. Probably your hardest matchup will be Lucci, just due to the fact that they run so many blockers. Like this Borsalino, stuff like that, and then Sabo, who is somewhere, here he is. But the one saving grace is that once they play like a Lucci out of their Gecko Moria, Lucci's pretty much useless if you have the 10 cost Shanks on board, plus your leader ability. So you really just have to worry about attacks from their 8 costs and then their leader, while also having to mow down all their blockers, which might be a little hard. So yeah, after analyzing it this way, I'm actually pretty excited for Shanks. Definitely going to be one of the first decks I try out from 09. And I'm just happy Red gets to be good again. It feels like it's going to be good again, right? Because there's still more cards in the Red Hair Pirates archetype that they haven't revealed yet. So this is just based off like early assumptions. And even based on early assumptions, this curve feels really good to me. So excited to see what the rest of 09 has in store. And yeah, once it's available on the sim for me to play with, a Shanks deck breakdown is going to come out real soon after that. And hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed this early dive into how Shanks could play. It might have been a little messy with me like dragging the cards around, but this was the only way I could think of to illustrate how strong his curve is. But hope you're able to follow along. Hope you can see how good Shanks actually is. A lot better than people thought. Hope that makes you excited to play Shanks. Hope you're not mad that I'm revealing how good he is early, similarly to how I did with Kalgara. And yeah, if you enjoyed these kind of videos, I could try to look at the other leaders and do like this kind of curve analysis too. I was thinking of doing Purple Black Luffy as well before 09 releases. But yeah, if you guys don't like this kind of video, maybe I won't do it. I just wanted to do this video because I did one for Kalgara and I feel like Shanks is going to be strong. And I wanted to throw Shanks some recognition here. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Bye. Oh, and subscribe if you're not already. Bye.
Car D Kaizoku.